You invader! You're an invader! You're ruining America by invading it. Get out! And you don't even believe in our freedom or our justice or our equality. So why don't you get out and go back home to whichever cave you came from in Europe?
You're at the mercy of the same argument. You're at the mercy of the same exact argument. If it's all about the conquerors,
no,
then
my
I'm
argument is
pointing out
America is
that we're
open
being
and
conquered,
free and just and equal. I love the idea of America. That's why
you don't
we came
care
here.
about
You
equality
don't love the idea of America.
You liberals have
you
never
want an
cared about
exclusive
equality.
place
You
based on religion, and that is the opposite of America.
Okay, let me jump in.
Learn what this country's about.
Okay, let me jump in. Okay, Andrew Wilson, on the issue of burning the American flag, where do you sit with that? Because I hear a lot of Americans taking a very high moral ground about censoring free speech and expression in the UK. But it seems to me that is a pretty direct attack on someone's right to do that if they wish to do that. Where do you sit with it?
Yeah, so a couple things. First, I think it's fine to throw people who burn the American flag in jail. I have no problem with it at all. If you're in the United States, you burn our symbols. And by the way, this has only been since 1989 that this has been a law. Only since 1989. Almost every state had laws against this. Why? Because they considered it incitement. Trump's executive order says the exact same thing. He considers it incitement under certain contexts. That's how they're going to avoid the Supreme Court. It's a good law. I support it 100%. We absolutely should be able to throw these people in jail. In some ways, also kind of circling back just very quickly, when you say, oh, the UK prosecutes people for speech, that's true, they do. In some ways, that might even be superior to the system we have in the United States, though, where if you're far right, you're debanked and depersoned with no due process at all, no publicity behind it, without ever even knowing why that was the case. I mean, at least there you're getting some kind of due process. Here, you don't even get that. And so the thing is like this is everywhere. It's not just there. The idea that we have to allow our enemies to pick our battles for us, we have to let Sankey Gur say either it's the case that you allow your enemies to burn the flag while they tear down all of your monuments. They tore down the flags. They don't care. They don't care about free speech. I'm not letting them pick our battles for us. Sorry. You burned our symbols. You do these riots in California where you combine a Mexican flag and an American flag. While you're burning our American flag, it looks like an invasion, not a riot. And so, yeah, there has to be a line in the sand that we draw, and I'm going to draw it at the symbol, and I'm not going to let lefties tell us one way or the other what we can or can't do.
Let me ask the two lefties here. Let me start with you, Cenk, then I'll come to you, Ava. Cenk, as one of the two lefties on the panel, your response to the flag burning support of people being jailed for that by Andrew?
Yeah, so I believe in and I love freedom of speech, and I'm principled on it, as Mike is here, and obviously Andrew isn't. Look, I also love the American flag. I think you should bring the flag to all protests because protesting is one of our fundamental rights in America. That's part of why we love America, especially if you're going to an immigrant protest. Please bring an American flag. So I would never burn an American flag. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. It bothers me viscerally. But are you allowed to burn one? Yes, of course you are, because that's part of what's great about this country. You have freedom of speech. But our freedom of speech is being taken away. There is one particular case where it is super aggressive, and that's if you criticize on a college campus, you'll be arrested by masked men and whisked away. And there's threats of taking your diploma away, never being able to get a job, arrested, denaturalized, deported. If you criticize America, you're in a world of trouble, and in a lot of other countries. So if you want to talk about abuse of free speech, there is one giant abuser, and that is and all the politicians that they buy in all the Western countries, and especially America.
Okay, let's go to our second.
He's right about that. It is atrocious that there's even a proposed legislation that if you burn the flag, you can go to jail. Has nothing to do with American symbolism. Has nothing to do with our flag. We have the stars and stripes, which men have died and bled for hundreds of years. Immigrants don't get to come here, many times illegally, and burn it on the cameras as part of a demoralizing system for the public. To hell with that. We don't have to allow that at all.
You don't have to allow it, but Andrew, I would say this.
Shouldn't.
But Andrew, I would say this. A lot of my family served in the UK armed forces in warfare, including in World War II, and they fought for the freedom of people to actually exercise their right to free speech and expression, even if it's very offensive to other people. I mean, isn't that the point of fighting for freedom?
no
Is it
offense,
you
Piers,
are
but I
allowed
don't believe-
you are allowed to then express yourself in ways that other people find offensive?
No offense, Piers, but I don't think a single one of your family members fought for the right of people to burn your nation's flag that they were fighting
Actually,
for.
I think
don't
they
believe it
did.
for a second.
I would
Any
say
more
they
than I
did.
believe that my countrymen and my family members were fighting in wars so that we could have more action, more freedom to go and make sure that we can have parades. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe they were fighting for rights. I don't believe it.
No,
I don't
you're
believe
missing
any
the
of your
point.
countrymen
They-
stormed Germany for rights. And
They
for
were
flag
fighting.
burning.
They were fighting.
Nonsense.
Yeah, but Andrew, they were fighting for the freedom for people to have the freedom to live their lives as they want to lead them. I mean, isn't that the whole point of the World War
but
II
the thing is, it's like you
defeat
have
of
to-
the that wanted us all to behave a certain way?
But you
we
also
decided
have to
as a
have
world we're not going to
freedom.
accept it.
But you have to have freedom from the very oppression of the people who are now invading your nation and taking it over, destroying the very things that these people fought for under those symbols.
It's a
you
very
don't have to
powerful
allow
point.
it.
Are the Germans invading America?
No, but
What-
Andrew's making
what's
a very
going on?
Andrew's making a very powerful point. The people who've come to the United States, people who've come to the United Kingdom, are using the very freedoms that we've granted them effectively to mount an attack on the United Kingdom and the United States. That's what's happening. We have a very delicate, fragile, advanced form of a constitution, a
Through
democratic
demoralization,
system.
through demoralization, invasion,
Yeah.
and abuse of laws, Sank. It's obvious how. It's so obvious how. How can you
No,
not
it's
see
not
it?
at all obvious. You're just making that
Okay,
up.
well, do you want me to walk you
You're
through
making
it step
it
by
up.
step? How I
So-
just watched in California?
No.
Huge amounts of, many of whom were illegal, burning our very symbols, doing it with they had a flag which was a combination of the Mexican flag and the American flag. They made it themselves just to do anything it could to on our symbols, Sank. It has been a total invasion here and in the UK,
So-
and you're full of.
No, this whole talk of invasion is nonsense. Okay, then let's flip it on its head. How about the invasion of the Mayflower and the Puritans who invaded the land here? Look, I'm not making that point. You're making.
So you're
that
making
point.
a right to
you're
conquer
talking
argument?
about like every wave
So
of
that would be my
immigrants.
argument,
So hold
Sam.
on. Let me make the point. So
All right, make
okay,
the
so then
point.
the wave of Italians and Irish that came. Oh, it's an invasion. It's an invasion. Wave of that came. It's an invasion. Every time there's immigrants, I don't know about the UK, and UK is not my business. The United States is about freedom, and it's a country built on immigrants. And originally,
Yeah, if any of those
Puritans and
immigrants,
white
like the
people
Irish
from
and the
Europe,
Italians,
and
came
then
over here and burned
Italians
the flag, they would have gone to jail.
Jews and
They would have gone to
Irish,
jail, Sam.
and then all across the world, and Chinese, and they've all made incredible contributions to America, and that is why America is stronger than all other nations, because we take the best of the best from the whole world, and they come here for our freedom. So I love those freedoms. I love America.
these
and
are the
flag,
best of the best
but
of people
whole
who are
point
coming
of that
here now,
flag
huh?
is equality and justice. They don't come here for some sort of weirdo white
They burn it.
state that you're
they
in favor
burn
of.
it. What do you mean? They're burning it. And by the way, the Italians and the
No,
Irish
you
you're
say
talking
they.
about,
The
they
great
would have gone
majority
to
of it.
jail
No,
for
you're talking
burning
about
the flag, Sam.
No, this is
What do you mean?
nonsense.
They should get a
Utter
room.
It's not
nonsense.
nonsense.
No,
I mean,
you're
yeah,
talking
it's not
about two
nonsense.
people
You're
on
full of it.
TV.
Let's
We're
be
talking
honest,
about
let me-
millions of immigrants
Let
who
me jump
love
in
this
again.
country.
The idea
You're
that everyone,
smearing millions
the idea
of
that
immigrants.
every immigrant in America is out there burning
Yeah,
flags
but most
is
of those
preposterous.
immigrants who love
let,
this
let me
country
bring, let
agree
me
with
bring
me. They
Ava in.
should
You've
go
been
to jail
waiting.
for burning its flag.
All right, let me bring in
I'll tell you
Ava.
that.
Ava,
Look, you're on land. Why don't you go back home, okay? You're on home.
too, and it looks
Okay,
like
you
you eat half
invader.
of the food
You're an
on it.
invader. You're ruining America by invading it. Get out. And you don't even
Yeah,
believe in
you
our freedom or our justice
You've
or our
already
equality.
ruined- you've
So why don't
already
you
ruined
get out and
America.
go
You're at
back
the mercy
home
of the
to
same
whichever
argument.
cave you
You're at the
came from
mercy
in
of
Europe?
the same argument. You're at the mercy of the same exact argument. Then you're on American land. And if it's all about the conquerors,
No,
then
my
I'm
argument
rightly
is
pointing
America
out
is
that we're
open
being
and
conquered,
free and
Sank.
just and equal. I love the idea of America. That's why
You don't
we came
care
here.
about
You don't
equality at
love the
all.
idea of
You
America.
liberals have
you
never
want an
cared about
exclusive
equality.
place
You tear-
based on
you
race or
tear every
religion,
symbol
and
down
that is the
that we have,
opposite of
Sank.
America.
Okay, let me jump in.
Learn
Let
what
me
this
jump in.
country's about.
Okay, let me jump
Yeah,
in.
I think
let
you
me
need to
jump.
learn
Let
what
me
it's
jump
about
in,
and what its
guys.
laws were.
I want to bring in. I
Get
want to
an
bring in.
education.